You could tell that she'd been hit in the head several times, and she had blood streaming down her face and her hair.
I cut the cord off the coffee pot, tied it around her neck after I choked her with my hands.
I think I just never wanted to see my brother as that type of monster.
In the town of Bald Knob, Arkansas, lived the Phillips family. They were a close-knit bunch, with parents Mary and James taking care of their 3 kids, Jesse, Darla, and the youngest, Lacey. Lacey, just 11 years old, was a bright and cheerful girl who loved her family and her hometown. Bald Knob was a friendly place where everyone knew each other, and Lacey felt safe and happy there. But one summer day in 1995, everything changed. Mary and Lacey disappeared, leaving their family and the whole town worried and desperate for answers. It was a scary time for everyone who knew them, and no one could have guessed what was about to happen next. June 6, 1995, started like any other day in Bald Knob. The sun was shining, and Lacey was excited for her dentist appointment with her mom. Mary worked at the local tax office, and Lacey often went there after school. As Mary finished up her workday, getting ready to take Lacey to the dentist, they had no idea that danger was lurking nearby. An armed intruder suddenly appeared at the tax office, catching Mary and Lacey by surprise. Despite Mary's attempts to protect her daughter, they were both forced into a terrifying ordeal. As hours passed with no sign of Mary and Lacey, concern grew among their family and friends. When they failed to return home from the dentist appointment, panic set in, and their loved ones feared the worst. The police were called, and an officer rushed to Mary's workplace.
A White County deputy received a call about a missing person,
hoping to find clues that could lead to their whereabouts. Upon entering the parking lot, he spotted a lone pickup truck that he confirmed was registered to Mary Phillips, situated at the side of the building. Shortly after making his way into the establishment through the front door, he made a gruesome discovery. Before him, lying on the floor with her hands bound behind her back, was the motionless body.
He immediately shut the door, came back out, and said, "Hey, we've got a homicide."
A CSI investigator was asked to take pictures of the murder victims. In the bathroom, he found the body of a child he presumed to be Lacey tied to a metal chair. He noted that her face and hair were caked with dried blood, as were her legs. Her once white tennis shoes and the floor around her were now stained crimson.
That she'd been hit in the head several times, and she had blood streaming down her face and her hair.
Realizing that he had a double homicide on his hands, he had called for backup. As he was snapping pictures of Lacey's body for evidentiary purposes, the seasoned detective got the fright of his life when she lifted her head and looked him directly in the eye.
Started to take the photograph. She kind of turned and looked up at me. It was a shock, a real shock.
Miraculously, despite her dire condition, she had survived the savage attack. It was a moment of both relief and devastation, as the officer realized that one victim had been lost, but another miraculously survived. As the minutes ticked by at an agonizingly slow pace, the investigator had assured Lacey that she was safe and that help was on the way. Lacey would spend the next few days in the intensive care unit of a nearby children's hospital. With Lacey's survival as a beacon of hope, law enforcement launched a relentless investigation into the heinous crime. When investigators interviewed her at her bedside, she described almost everything about him.
Asking me about him, and I told him specifically from the head to the toes, everything he was wearing, what he looked like, how long his hair was.
His eye and hair color, as well as his approximate weight, height, and age with what would prove to be astounding accuracy. Most importantly, she recalled that he had a tattoo under his left eye in the shape of a teardrop.
Aaron Beater had a tattoo on his arm, and a tattoo of a turned out to be a teardrop under one of his eyes.
She also stated that he made Mary lie on the floor and then forced Lacey to lie on her mother. After robbing the place of money, he took Lacey to an attached bathroom and tied her to a metal chair. When Lacey asked him not to hurt her mother, he responded, "I'm going to hurt you." He left her for Mary and then returned and choked Lacey until she passed out. That's what he thought. He hit the young girl in the head at least 8 times. Armed with this information, police identified a suspect, 31-year-old Jack Jones, who matched the description provided by Lacey. Jones was swiftly apprehended and brought in for questioning. He shocked investigators by confessing to everything on the spot. He blamed local law enforcement for his actions, claiming that his murderous rampage had been in retaliation for their inaction in arresting his wife's alleged rapist.
Get revenge against the police because my wife had been raped and nothing had been done about it. The rapist is still walking the streets.
According to Jones, he had targeted Mary after seeing her earlier on the day of the attack. Struck by her beauty, he had shown up at her office armed with a BB gun that looked like a real pistol, latex gloves, and a spool of wire. On the evening of June 7, 1995, only hours after the carnage, Jones was arrested and charged with the rape and murder of Mary Phillips and the attempted murder of her daughter Lacey. As the case against Jones built, the prosecution presented a compelling argument in court, bolstered by Lacey's unwavering testimony and forensic evidence. After having the evidence meticulously laid out for them, the jury had rejected Jones' defense and found him guilty on all charges. The punishment the judge imposed for Mary's murder was death by lethal injection. He also received a sentence of life in prison for rape, plus 30 years, and a $15,000 fine for the attempted murder of Lacey. In the aftermath of Jack Jones's arrest, the legal process unfolded, bringing the perpetrator to trial for his heinous crimes. Jones had confessed to killing another young woman back in the early 80s when he was still in his teens. His first victim was a 20-year-old Regina Harrison. For reasons he wasn't willing to divulge, after enjoying a pleasant afternoon together, he had taken the pretty redhead to a remote park where he raped and strangled her to death. Her body was found in Westlake Park on May 21, 1983. Her slaying had remained unsolved until Jones decided to unburden his conscience. Further on down the road, after reflecting on just how much of his past he should reveal, Jones notified authorities that he had something else to tell them. When he had their undivided attention, he took responsibility for the murder of 32-year-old Lorraine Barrett, a tourist from Pennsylvania who had been found beaten, raped, and strangled to death in a hotel room in Fort Lauderdale, Florida in June of 1991. The young saleswoman had been in the state for less than 24 hours when she was slain. In 2003, Jones was officially named as Lorraine's killer when his DNA was found to match the samples that had been preserved from the crime scene. Back in 1991, when a composite drawing of her mysterious companion appeared on the front page of Florida newspapers, Jack Jones' sister had recognized his face immediately.
They had said that she was having a drink with a young man at the bar and was later seen with the same man going up an elevator. And they showed a composite picture. It was Jack. Like, it was him.
When she showed the image to their father, he told her to put the paper away and never speak of it again. He had then placed his son on a bus bound for Arkansas, unaware that he was unleashing the demon he had spawned on a new territory of potential victims. Jones' family would later justify their actions, or inactions as it were, by saying that, while they believed it was possible that he had spent time with the victim in the hours leading up to her demise, they didn't think that he was capable of murder. This despite his history of violence, which they knew all too well. Jack Jones was executed on April 24, 2017, for the murder of Mary Phillips.
The other thing I want to say is that, I apologize. And I know that's...
Lacey Phillips Seal was present to witness the monster who had haunted her dreams for over 20 years get his just desserts. When given a chance to speak before being led to the death chamber, Jones had apologized for his actions. He had even called Lacey out by name, telling her that he had always thought of her as a daughter.
Something that I feel is absolutely disgusting, but he said, "Lacey, I looked at you like a daughter. And I'm sorry I hurt you."
This ridiculous statement had made her understandably angry, given that the only time she had been in his presence outside of a courtroom was when he was strangling her and beating her over the head with a pistol. For Lacey, the trauma of the incident would haunt her for years to come, leaving her grappling with physical and emotional scars. Despite her resilience, she faced countless challenges as she navigated the complexities of healing and recovery. Lacey's bravery in the aftermath of the attack, her unwavering pursuit of justice, and her resilience in the face of adversity continue to inspire others to this day. Her courage serves as a beacon of hope for victims of violent crime. Today, Lacey has put the past behind her and moved forward with her life. As a mother herself, she remains a staunch advocate for victims' rights, using her voice to fight for those who have experienced similar traumas. The story of Lacey Phillips and her family is one of tragedy, resilience, and hope. Through their courage and determination, they have emerged stronger than ever, inspiring others to never lose hope in the face of adversity. As they continue to honor Mary's memory, they serve as a beacon of light for those who seek justice and healing in the aftermath of trauma.
Even though it was only 11 years, I'm proud that I did have her as a mom. And now I have the opportunity to be a good mother to my daughter. She was proud of me. She was very proud of me.